You'll never get rich trading time for money. You must own equity. You know what their claim to fame is? We're the next EXP.
When I talk to people, they're always like, I'll feel disconnected. And I actually tell people that I think the human connection that we experience because we're virtual is even better.
Our interests are in complete alignment. So what I'm doing is I'm meeting with another owner. Well, and what you're describing is the principal and agent problem. If somebody went to business school or whatever, an MBA, what they teach you is that principals and agents are at odds with each other. So principals in a company, they want something. They want to keep as much money as possible. The agents or the employees want the opposite. They want to keep as much possible. And what they say is whoever solves for that principal and agent problem the best wins. And when I was looking at these models, because I used to own part of a franchise, I sold it back in order to participate in this opportunity. I felt the exact same thing that you did, that there was friction. And it was very clear that even though it was a little better, it was still hierarchical. One person got the lion's share of everything, everybody else gets crumbs. And what I realized in studying this model is that this solves for the principal and agent problem the best. It's not perfect, but it's the best. Where now my interests are direct in alignment with the company. I get to become an owner through equity. You'll never get rich trading time for money. You must own equity. I get to share in the revenue that the company produces. And what's wild is I know this is to be true, and this has nothing to do with you. I did a leadership retreat this year where we took leaders in our organization to the Dominican Republic. You had no idea I did that.
Yeah.
And it's perfectly fine. This becomes, in hierarchical models, what you end up with is weak leadership. Because if you want an A+ opportunity, or A+ talent, you need an A+ opportunity. So because it's hierarchical, what ends up happening, and me and you are an example of that, when A+ talent rises to the top and there's no more opportunity, what do?
They leave.
They leave. What this model does is it becomes a super highway for leaders, where it basically is saying, hey, here's a platform. You can do whatever you want with it. You could build as big of an empire as you would like. We are just the platform, the operating system underneath.
Well, I'm sure you've heard me say it. That's actually how I describe the company,
yeah.
Right? We are an operating platform that allows real estate entrepreneurs to build whatever size dream they want.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm a well-known data nerd.
Yeah.
And so when I first got here, my obsession was just understanding who we are and what our population is. Right. So some fun facts that you can share is 29% of our agents have one or more people in their downline.
Wow.
Which was higher than I expected it. But then I clicked a second number down and I was really curious about 3 or more. Because to me, 1 could be an accident. 1 to 2 is an accident. 3, it feels like you're trying.
Yeah.
And when you go down to 3, it's only 14%. And so, again, that's not good or bad. That's just is, right? So one thing it told me is 86% of the people here just to sell homes, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And so, I've never forgotten that we're a real estate brokerage.
First.
So my obsession in the 2 years I've been here is operational excellence. How do I pay you faster?
Yeah.
How do I answer your broker support questions faster? How do I close the loop on any issues, right? And to me, it's let me start with the super important, not sexy, and make that experience amazing. Because unlike other opportunities for folks like you actually are completely relying on the lion's share of the experience on us.
Correct.
Right? You could be the best attractor in the world and create the biggest opportunity. But if onboarding sucks, or broker support sucks, or it takes 2 weeks to pay somebody, who's staying?
Yeah, so what I think is huge about what you just said is I am very clear, EXP is my operational partner, right? So you guys operate. My job is to bring people to the opportunity and then to add tremendous value, right? Your job and the team's job at EXP is to make the operation excellent. And together, because we're all owners, we're all building something together.
The other thought that you just reminded me of when you were saying about your leadership retreat, I asked Glenn a ton of questions when I got here, and just I always like to understand the legacy because, there are things that are put in place for a good reason, especially when you have smart people, right? If I see a system or a rule where I'm hey, before I go touch anything, let me ask a bunch of questions. But one day I was asking him the differences in models where in other systems, there's a leader and, the people who help attract just kind of bring them to the doorstep, if you will, and let the other people do the work.
Yeah.
And he's this is the distinction. that person takes them all the way to the finish line.
Right.
Right. And the way he explained EXP in his original vision, and what definitely came out of it, is we're an experiment in distributed leadership.
And explain to me what you mean by that, because I think I'm clear, but
yeah, no. So in most systems, like if in traditional, I know any real estate company, any food company that has franchises, right? Like there's typically a master regional owner.
Yep.
Country owner, right? You sell Europe, Asia, Latin America, the Midwest, the Northeast, the Southeast. And so there's this person who kind of drops in and evangelizes, and then that person then sells the franchises. And so they get to participate in the total upside. And then there are folks who become super kind of franchise owners, regional owners, of like 5 or 6 or 7 stores. And again, this could literally be McDonald's, real estate companies, to, and fill in the blank, any franchise shop, Subways. And then some people end up with 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And so the revenue opportunity could be, enough to provide for one person's lifestyle.
Sure.
To a multi tens of millions of dollars operation with staff.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm talking about Burger King to real estate offices. So what I see that was created here is someone can kind of tiptoe in and say, hey, is this for me? And do a little bit of it and add 20 grand a year to it, like where your cap's covered and you're basically a 100% company, to, 6 and 7 figures a month in revenue.
Correct.
And at that point, you're basically a multi-regional owner.
Yes.
Right?
Without
or
any
multi-office owner.
Without any expenses, major expenses, leases.
I was going to say, the big difference is without a 10 or 12 year franchise agreement.
Yes.
Without a 10-year lease on 20,000 square feet.
Correct.
Right? Because what I always want to be clear about is the folks who do really well then treat it like a business, right? That's why the platform statement, like those are very specific, like 9 words that I've crafted together, because I want to be a platform, and I'm hyper aware that like 68, 70% of our agents are solo producers and will sell 5 to 12 homes a year.
Great.
And I want to be the very best platform for them to do that.
Yep.
Then we have other folks on the extreme side of the production fence. Like our number 1 team this year is probably going to do 1,200 units with 65 people. Right. And we'll probably have 1 in the US and 1 in Canada that do 1,200. Like Justin Haver and Matt Delhoon, Kenny Fast team, and Kyle Whistle will be right behind them. In the US, you will see who Parker Pemberton's coming up right behind them. But Jennifer Jones and everybody else will give Justin equal run for their money in Canada.
Sure.
So we have folks that are running $10 to $20 million GCI businesses. Like that's bigger than most brokerages ever get to.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And so we need to be able to support people closing 80, 100, 150 transactions a month, right?
Yeah.
There's entire franchises in real estate that don't do that.
Have you ever been a long distance landlord before? Does that concern you at all? With what's happening in Florida, with like, if it's breaking even, I mean, the insurance rates are out of control. If that goes up next year, would it mean that you would negative cash flow? How long are you prepared to negative cash flow for? And if you did sell it, could you reallocate the capital and put it into something that has a better return?